This Monday morning edition of Pucks Across Borders, brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. What's your sport card? Hockey, basketball, football, baseball, maybe wrestling, maybe even boxing. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You can get it at firstroundcollectibles.com. And right now, with the promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. Still, from Christmas, they have sales items up to 50% off with the promo code Sports Addict. It doesn't matter. Sale item, regular priced item. You get them both for 10% off. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today and find your heroes. That's the number one ST Round Collectibles. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins, can't relax. Original, I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they.
And welcome, Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports on Twitter or X and YouTube. It is good to be back on a Monday morning. Thanks for joining us, whether it's live or throughout the day. We appreciate you. Before we get into a crazy weekend in the NHL and 6 games on the ice tonight, let's introduce you to my brother. You read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. You see him talk about the NFL, talk about the NBA, college football, college hoops. He does it all on Total Apex Sports. Andre, how we feeling on a Monday morning, bro? New week.
It is a new week, and I'm ready to get into it. I'm feeling pretty good. It is March. Busy sports month, awesome month. My brother's birthday month. But just for today, I'm ready for some NHL. I'm ready to get this morning started.
Happy birthday to your brother, man.
Yeah, thanks. You got another week, but I'll pass it along.
If I'm like in the area of someone's birthday and I remember, I just wish them a happy birthday because I'm going to forget it. So I just do it as soon. Like if it's someone's birthday, like a week from now, I'll just say, "Oh, hey, happy birthday!" I know it's not for a week, but I'm gonna forget it, so I might as well just tell you now. Yeah, crazy week in the NHL. It is March. Trade deadline is in 5 days from now. Ramping up to what should be an eventful, although we've had lots of big trades leading up to this. To this deadline, so we'll see. I think last year there was 37 trades on the trade deadline day itself, which was huge, and I don't know if it'll be quite that busy this year. But we shall see. Crazy weekend to get into from this past weekend before diving into every game on the ice tonight. Let's jump right into it, man. Lots to talk about. What's your takeaway in the NHL over the weekend?
Yeah, we love to be negative on this show, so let's start it off with a negative.
Especially on Mondays. Yeah.
Yes, especially on Mondays. The Pittsburgh Penguins did not have a fun weekend. Blew a 3-1 lead in the third period on Saturday night in Calgary. Brutal game. Whenever teams go to Alberta, especially these East Coast teams, it's always a back-to-back, and Penguins didn't have it any different. They went to Edmonton last night. They started Alex Nedeljkovic, and he got fed to the Wolves, and they were down 6-0. Wasn't competitive at all. And now the Penguins, 3-game losing streak, have failed to gain a game on anybody, not gain a game points, period, on anybody. in a race where they're still alive, it's still open, and they had a golden opportunity to move up the standings a little bit while maintaining some games in hand, failed completely. So they're still 7th in the Metro. They're now tied with the Sabres actually in total points. Still got a lot of climbing to do if they want to make the postseason. I know nobody in the Metro besides the Flyers is really trying to take that 3rd spot at this point, it seems, trying to grab a wild card spot, but Pittsburgh running out of time in a lot more ways than just this season.
Yes, and I think that's the real thing about this, right? And I'm thinking the same thing about the Devils. Like, the Penguins are only 9 points out of that 3rd spot, like you mentioned. Devils only 7 points out, but I think more so for Pittsburgh, but I think for both of those teams, it's okay. So you kind of need to know what you are by Friday, right? It's like, okay, do I really think this team can make a push for the playoffs? If so, then we'll get what we need to get for Friday to make that push towards the end of the season. But if not, like, why would Pittsburgh mortgage their future for this season? Like, whether it's trading draft picks, like whatever it is, like, why? To make it to the playoffs because you have Sidney Crosby and then get smoked in the 1st round. Like, it just doesn't make sense to go for it at this point. And I would argue the same thing for the Devils. John, he's our boy. We love him. He was at the game yesterday in LA. Why would you go not all in, but why would you make moves for this season when if you get to the, like, I guess if you get in and like anything can happen, but I'm right there with you, man. I think for the Penguins, it's much more like, at least the Devils, you had some injuries on the defensive end. You need to get that number 1 goalie in the organization. You had a great year last year, off year, get healthy, bounce back next year. But for the Penguins, it's not that way, man. Like, the future is looking bleak. And I think it's very telling that Kyle Dubas was signed to a 7-year deal because he knew, and the organization knows, like, it's about to get ugly over in Pittsburgh. And it sucks because, as we've mentioned on this show many times, Crosby's had a magical year. And it sucks for it to end like this. But man, like, I was watching the game last night, and I know it's a back-to-back or whatever, but I'm watching the game last night. And I mean, Malkin gets that garbage goal at the end, the rebound in front of the net. But Malkin, like, he looks done to me, man. Like, he just, like, it looks like it's time for him. And it sucks. He was a phenomenal player in his day. But you're just watching that game last night and you're just thinking, like, how can this team, like, think they're going to run it back next year? Like, it's hard to watch, man. It's hard to watch. My takeaway, the Winnipeg Jets, man. This team, every time you think they're going on this little lull, they bounce back in a big way. This weekend, they're down 3-0. And I have a feeling you're going to talk about this game later in the show, but not in the positive way that I am doing it right now. They're losing to the Carolina Hurricanes 3-0 going into the 3rd period. Within minutes, it's 3-2. And with minutes after that, it is 3-3. Not only do they win, but if you were bold enough to, because they were, I believe the Hurricanes were favorites in that game. If you were bold enough to do the flipped puck line and pick the Jets -1.5, you would have won yourself a good amount of money because they not only tie it up, not only win, but they win 5-3. Then last night in Buffalo, which was a phenomenal hockey game, by the way, and Buffalo, they're playing some fun hockey right now, man. They put a beating on Vegas on Saturday, 7-2, the final, I believe, something like that. And then last night, Buffalo played a very good game. They're winning 2-1 going into the third period. Or was it 1-1? And then Buffalo made it 2-1. I believe it was 2-1 going into the third. I can't remember off the top of my head. I did watch the game, but that was like last night was a long time ago. And not only do the Jets come back, tie it up, they win a couple empty netters. They win 5-2. And they were favorites. So if you did bet the puck line, then you won some money last night. The funny part is not their last two games, but in their last two third periods, they have scored 9 goals in the last 2-3 periods alone. Just a phenomenal championship caliber performance. Not in the game as a whole. That game last night, they played a very good game front to finish. I thought that the Jets were the better team in the first period yesterday. Buffalo played very well in that second period, and then the Jets took over in the third, where that game on Saturday, Carolina was the better team from puck drop to the end of the second period, and the Jets just turned on the Jets in the third period to win that game. And I was thinking, you and John, you guys are the football guys. I like football. I can chat about the NFL, but you guys talk about the NFL for a living. You write about the NFL for a living. And I was thinking about the Jets, and I wanted to message you guys. Actually, I think I did message you guys this in the group chat. Did I? Instead of, and you're both like New York guys, you know, what's the New York Jets? It's like Jets, Jets. If you follow the cadence in like your head, Jets, Winnipeg, Jets, you can make it work. You know, you can flip, you can make that chant work. And the Jets are just phenomenal, and huge weekend from them. And if I may just add, with that win yesterday, the last 2 days, and the Stars winning last night, they are now both tied for first in the Central, and the Jets reclaimed first place.
Mark, as your friend, I would just like to advise you, just moving forward, try not to think about the Jets as much as you can, especially the New York Jets. I'm not going to talk about the Winnipeg Jets, but probably better for your mental health.
Yeah, that's okay. My football team has a crazy chant that people make fun of too, so I'm right there with them. But
yes, we do.
Yes, you do. All right. The other thing I wanted to mention, and maybe you can kind of chime in your thoughts on this. I had 2 thoughts, and you know what? We'll save the second one for later, because my second thought is about the Flames, but the Flames play tonight. So we'll talk about that when we talk about them. The Nashville Predators, man. St. Louis Blues are now, weren't they tied in points like last week? And now they're 7 points back of the Nashville Predators. Huge win by them against Colorado. I actually did have the Predators on the money line on Saturday. I just thought, just recent trends, man, like they're just playing really good hockey right now. And the Wild, you know, they were right there. They've had a couple. They won last night, but they've had a couple really tough losses. The Wild have had, and they got destroyed by Nashville last week. We talked about that. Now the Wild are 8 points back of the Predators, and it just feels like the Western Conference playoffs. Mathematically, it's not this way, but logically, it just feels like the West is what it is now. It doesn't feel like St. Louis, Wild, Calgary. I want to talk about them later. Calgary, they're on a 5-game heater right now, man. They're playing terrific hockey, and they made a little bit of ground, but almost like nothing because Nashville just keeps winning. And so, yeah, I don't know if you have any comments on that, but I just think what Nashville is doing right now is just remarkable. And I think, just real quick here, in the East, I just mentioned, I think if any team claws their ways in their way into the playoffs in the East, I think they get dummied in the first round. Like, I think if the Islanders get in, Capitals get in, the Devils get in, the Penguins find a way in, even, hey man, the Buffalo Sabres, bro, they're right there with the Penguins, right? If any of those teams get in, I think they get dummied in the first round. I think Detroit can give the Rangers and the Panthers a run for their money. But I mean, Nashville, dude, I think they can cause some teams some problems. I don't think they would win against Vancouver or Winnipeg, but Nashville, man, we call them cockroaches for a reason, dude. Like, I feel like they can cause some issues. I don't know.
I feel like they could too. And I feel comfortable sliding them in now. I'm gonna hold myself accountable here and on two fronts. I still have faith in Calgary to make a final push, and I still think that the Kings might be in danger. But that's going to take a lot of work. Just for now, just sticking to Nashville. They're playing phenomenal. Kind of ties into what my bad beat is going to be. But good for them. They're just in every way dominating. Like you, I also took them to win on Saturday. Plus money at home. They're a really good team. I usually don't bet against Colorado, but that was a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it wasn't even a sweat. Like, it wasn't like one of those things where you're like in the third period, like, oh, this was a mistake. And then they pull out a win. Like, they were winning that game pillar to post, man. It was just a phenomenal game by them. And really good to see. All right, let's move on. Bad beats for the weekend. I'll start. Our boys, the Toronto Maple Leafs for myself and the New York Rangers for yourself, played a phenomenal hockey game on Saturday night. That was a really, really fun game. I think both of us could walk away with some good things that we saw from our teams, and also some things that maybe, concern us a little bit. But overall, great game. The Rempe Reeves battle at center ice. It ended up happening. That was just a side note. That was a really interesting sequence, because when Reeves was finally like, all right, you want to go, it's almost like Rempe looked at the bench for like permission. Like, he looked at his boys and was like, hey, is this okay? Like, do you mind? And he ended up going for it. And I mean, I feel like Reeves won that fight, but that was a good fight, man. And it's just, I think the like, now that fight was done, Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, you fight Ryan Reeves on the Maple Leafs logo. Now I feel like it's like, okay, dude, you done it all. Just chill. No more fights, bro. Like, you're good now. But this is where the bad beat comes in. The Toronto Maple Leafs won 4-3 in overtime. I, as an idiot, was overexposed. I had the Leafs -1.5. I had the Leafs 60-minute line, and I had the Leafs money line tied into the Philadelphia Flyers money line. When the game was 3-2 for Toronto, Austin Matthews with a backhand saucer all the way down from his own end at the empty net. It basically hits the post, like just touches the side of the net, missed the money line the puck line by this much. Then So I missed the -1.5. Then you guys tie the game up with 1:07 left. I missed the 60-minute line. Then my cash out is available for half of the payout, and I took it because I was like, I am not getting a triple bad beat on this one. I'm not doing it. So I cash out, and then the Leafs win. So it's like that was just a mess for me. And I would love to say that I learned my lesson, but I'll probably do something like that again, probably tonight. But yeah, so that was a bit of a mess, and that's my bad beat. What do you got, man?
I would like to add from that game, just nothing of consequence. Obviously, the Leafs got their 2 points or whatever, but the Lafreniere penalty with 5 seconds left in OT, technically, Toronto should have got a penalty shot from that if the refs saw it's a deliberate illegal substitution. I just thought that was interesting thing that didn't happen. Also, again, I don't want to harp on this game too much. The who was it that tied it in the shootout? Was that Marner or was it Riley? I don't remember.
Riley got the game-winning shootout goal, but I don't remember who tied it.
So I feel like it was Marner then. The reviewed shot because whether they said he lost it or pulled it back or whatever.
Oh, that was the game winner. That was the game winner. Yeah, I think.
Super. They must have had you on edge, man.
Oh. Well,
that was the whichever one it was they reviewed, I think was the third one that like the Leafs needed to keep it alive.
Yeah, I felt like in my head that was the winner, but I can't remember for sure. But either way, yeah, dude. I at first glance, like watching it, like as it happened, I thought they were gonna change it. But then when you watch it on replay, it's like, oh no, he was continuing his forward motion. I thought it was the right call, but I don't know if you thought the same. But watching it live, I thought for sure they were gonna take it back, but it ended up working out.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I thought at first they were too, and I was like, oh, he's fine. He got one. Really good move. Anyway, my bad beat is from Saturday, and so I'll pick it up. I did pick Nashville to win on Saturday as part of a parlay. That worked. I also picked the Panthers, the Oilers, the Blues, the Flames, and not the Sharks, not the Blackhawks. I took the Sharks and the Blackhawks off. So it was Flames 1, check. Blues 1, plus money, check. Predators 1, at plus money, check. Oilers and Panthers 1. But none of that mattered. My parlay was dead very early before any of those games started because the Carolina Hurricanes up 3-0 on home ice against the Jets team that has a mediocre offense, that has bad special teams, and that up until recently was not playing the best hockey. The Carolina Hurricanes not only blew that 3-goal lead in less than 6 minutes, they lost the game by multiple goals. In regulation. Embarrassing performance. And I put the Canes on there specifically thinking, if they lose, it helps the Rangers, like I won't feel too bad about it. But then it happened and the rest of the parlay hit. And I was like, no, I actually really care about this. Why did you guys lose 3-goal lead in the third period? Exactly. I was committed to them getting 2 points, and then suddenly they get nothing, and my wallet gets nothing. And I guess it helps the Rangers, but my wallet would have got a lot of something with that parlay. It was a lot. It was very good odds. So upset with that.
Yeah, and like that's it, man. Like this is gambling, you win some, you lose some. Some people lose most and they win the big ones and keep themselves going. It is what it is. But when your team, and not like your team, but the team that you bet on, when they lose like that, that's when it hurts. Is like if the game's tied 3-3 going into the third and the Jets squeak out a close game, that's one thing. But when you have it in the bag, that's like for me, I don't know what the options were for. Oh no, because that game was an early game, so that ticket would have lost early, and then as the day goes on, you realize, oh my gosh. But like for single bets, if the team that I bet on is winning 4-0, and I can cash out for like $5 or $10 less than the payout, I'll just cash it out. Even though I'm like leaving $5-10 on the table, I would rather take my money than something crazy happen. Like I just, those ones hurt, bro. Those ones hurt. All right. Moving on, we do have 6 games on the ice tonight. Before we get into that, just quick little notes from around the league. Elias or Elias or Elias. I know different people with that name say different, I don't know, pronounce it differently, but regardless, I think you're right. But regardless, Pettersson from the Vancouver Canucks signs an 8-year deal, 11.6 per year. I noticed something while on Cap Friendly this morning. I noticed that his no movement clause, according to capfriendly.com, so if I'm wrong, it's not my fault. According to capfriendly.com, his no movement clause does not kick in until year 2 of this deal. So I don't know if that's worth noting, if that matters, if we should read into that too much, because it's fun to like speculate. I have no idea. But I found that interesting. But regardless, lots of noise and smoke around this contract. Last week, it was, they talked with the Carolina Hurricanes about trading him, and then all of a sudden, boom, this deal is getting close to being done. And in fact, it was done on Saturday, 8 years, 11.6. And then your boy, Jonathan Quick, gets an extension, 1-year extension. He is back next year with the club. Correct me if I'm wrong, 1.25 for, I believe that's what it is. But regardless, good for Jonathan Quick, man. He found himself a role in the back 9 of his career. Didn't play much for Vegas last year. After leaving the Kings, couldn't really find consistency anywhere, and he found a really good home and is playing very well for the Rangers this year. So good for him, man.
Yeah, happy for him. Gets to play for his favorite team growing up for another year. He gets to keep his career alive for another year. Probably didn't expect to have much more after this year coming into this season. Honestly, probably why I chose the Rangers. But he bought himself some extra life, and kudos to him. He kept the team not just alive and afloat, but thriving while Shesterkin was struggling. So he earned it for sure. Be glad to have him back. I kind of forgive him for 10 years ago at this point.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like when you look back on this year, it's like, yeah, he played well. You look at the stats are good. He's back. But if you look at it in context, like you said, man, like he really, I think it's a bit dramatic to say that he saved their season, but he really helped them stay afloat there for a while when Shesterkin was going through when he went through. So yeah, like you look at the stats, everything's fine, but in the context, he really stepped up huge for the Rangers this year.
Yeah. 100%.
All right. Yeah. Let's move on, man. 6 games, which I feel like is a bit busy for a Monday night. But regardless, 6 games in the NHL tonight, starting with Vegas Golden Knights in Columbus. What a crazy game that was against Buffalo on Saturday. For them to lose that game, Buffalo was favored in that game, which I thought was really telling. I believe Vegas was still minus money, but Buffalo was favored. And And Buffalo just took control of that game and just ran away with it. I heard on Saturday from Cassidy that the goal was to have Eichel back tonight. I have not seen one way or the other if he is back tonight. But that was the plan. So I do think that matters. He's been out for a long time. Does he come back like running, or does it take him a little bit to get back in the swing of things? Regardless, they are in Columbus. Columbus is plus 150 at home. Vegas is minus 180. Minus 1.5 on the puck line for Vegas is plus 136. Plus 1.5 for the Blue Jackets is minus 162. The over is plus 102, and the under is minus 122. The over 6.5. I don't know if I mentioned that. 6.5 plus 102. The under is minus 122. What do you see here, man?
I don't know if I can trust Vegas.
Right.
You said Eichel's coming back soon. They very clearly need him at this point. Leaning on the defense, goaltending, Aiden Hill, all that very clearly isn't working, considering that in their last 6 games, 5 of the teams scored at least 4 goals. And they lost all those games but one. They got your boys back a little. Sorry.
Mhm.
But, you guys beat them 7-3 a little before that, so I think you can live with it. Their goaltending is a disaster. Or not the goaltending, just their defense. Just everything about stopping the puck is a disaster right now. So I really like the over just to kick things off. Obviously, the Blue Jackets allow the second most goals per game, weak PK, blah, blah, blah. Played well against the Blackhawks. The 2 games before that, though, they allowed 4 goals to good teams. I see Vegas getting like 4 goals, 5 goals, whatever. I would look into their team total goal prop. I don't have the odds pulled up yet, but I think that would be really good. Picking a side is tricky. Don't really like it. I wish Columbus got a little more disrespect here so I could go with the plus 1.5. But I want to pick them to win. Not because they're good. Obviously they're not, but you don't really trust the Golden Knights right now. And plus 150 at home. They did just beat the Rangers on home ice last Sunday. They were fighting. I know they lost 4-2 to the Canes a few days later at home. I think that was Thursday, but that game was a lot closer than 4-2. So I think I would take Columbus plus 150 here. Definitely would take the over. Vegas over 3.5 goals as a team is minus 115. I think that's kind of a lock. So those are my 3 picks from this one.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I mean, Vegas 3-6-1 in their last 10. That game against Toronto was the most complete performance that they've had in weeks. That was a terrific game, and if you watch Vegas, they just haven't been sharp, man. They just haven't been they just haven't been crisp. That game against Toronto was very, very good, very tight, very well played by them, and they just haven't played that way over the last couple weeks. 3-6-1 their last 10. Like you said, dude, they've allowed 4+ goals in 5 of their last 6 games. And that 4+, only 4 once out of those 5 games, right? So it's bad back there. Not good. Marchessault, 4 goals, 9 points, last 10. I feel like if you're looking for a goal scoring prop, he's always a good player to pick, plus 130. For him to score. William Karlsson's always a good one, plus 160. But other than that, I mean, the 60-minute line for Vegas, if you want to go that route for a bit better value, is minus 110. I don't hate it. I'm with you. I mean, I don't think Columbus is that crazy of a pick here. They make good teams sweat. They have all year long. I still think Vegas is a good team. It's not like that. It's just like recently they just haven't had it. And I know the injuries have been racking up. Understood. Aiden Hill, still one of the best goalies in the league, but he was out for a long time, man, and he came back, hit the ground running, has regressed a little bit since then. I think I do like Vegas though, minus 110 on the 60-minute line. I just think it's important for them to get right and to get this game tonight. Do not fault the Columbus money line at all. I want to see Vegas come out, put up a good game. I don't like them on the puck line. I think just it's a bit too aggressive for how they've been playing lately and how many goals they're allowing right now, as we both said. I do like Vegas minus 110 on the 60-minute line, but would completely understand going the other way.
How would you feel about Columbus over 2.5 goals is minus 130? Over 3.5 is plus 195. How would you feel about either of those?
You say plus 195 for over
3.5, yeah.
Oh, the 3.5. Yeah, I mean, the over 2.5, I like it for sure. I do. I know it's Columbus, but I think it's not about Columbus. It's about how Vegas like has been trending lately. It's like that simple. That 3.5, man, that's worth a sprinkle. It is. 4+ goals allowed in 5 out of 6. 5+ goals allowed in 4 of 6. It's worth it.
It's real tempting.
All right. Speaking of tempting, your boys are plus money tonight, bro. At home. Phenomenal game. This is going to be a great game. I think the two best games, I don't think it's even close. Let's be honest. The two best games of the night feature our teams. I think that's just the reality. Florida is in New York. We'll talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs game in a little bit. New York Rangers plus 100. Florida Panthers minus 120. Minus 1.5 on the puck line for Florida is plus 200. Plus 1.5 for the Rangers, minus 245. The over is 6 at plus 102. The under is minus 122. We could talk about this game for an hour, bro. This has so many things to talk about when it comes to this game. We'll start with you on this one. What do you see here, bro? This is a great game.
Well, let's just throw it out there now. Whoever wins this game is atop the NHL standings.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Oh, yes, Rangers money line. You're right. I should have thrown that out there first. Yeah, if the Rangers win, they're tied with the Panthers for the most points in the league, best points percentage, blah, blah, blah. If the Panthers win, they're all alone at the top. They get some distance on the Rangers. They get some distance on the Canucks. They may or may not keep their distance on the Bruins, or they may even gain some separation. We'll find out about that soon enough. But it's Rangers money line. It's in the Garden. I know the Panthers are the best road team this season, but the Rangers are the second best home team, and their home record 21-7. If you're winning 75% of your games at home, it's really hard to bet against that. I understand what the Panthers have done on the road, but 21-10 is just not as good. That's basic math. What I do like, both teams, they both had phenomenal Februaries, and it was on the strength of defense. It was on the strength of goaltending. Florida's gone 16 games where only one team scored more than 2 goals against them. The Rangers held for their last 6 opponents to exactly 1 goal. Bobrovsky, third in wins, second in goals allowed average among qualified goalies. Shesterkin, third star of the month of February, 7-0-0, 953 save percentage, 172 goals like allowed average. I like the under 6 here. Obviously, you can bump that to 5.5. It doesn't really change anything functionally, but gives you better odds. Doesn't allow a push, but it is what it is. Under for sure. Unlike the last game between these teams, those 4-3 Panthers win. I see the Rangers coming on top this time. Their offense is slightly more reliable, and they have the Garden on their side. So Matt Rempe can clearly do the things that the Panthers want to do. Jacob Trouba can do the things the Panthers want to do. That's hit people, get physical, get feisty. Not turtle. They don't turtle, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I have been on record of saying this many times. I think in the playoffs, the Rangers are the only team, in my estimation, that can give the Panthers a run for their money in the playoffs. My tone has changed on the Leafs recently. I like the Leafs' chances against the Panthers better than I did a couple weeks ago. However, that Florida team, man, like that game on Saturday against Detroit, that was a real playoff game. And the first two periods were close. They were competitive. They were feisty, lots of scrums. And Florida just eventually put their foot down on the Red Wings' throats and finished that game off. Now, the Rangers are a much better team than the Red Wings are. I'm really curious about this game. I almost don't want to bet it just because I just want to sit back and enjoy, have the Bruins and Leafs on one screen, have the Rangers, Panthers on another. Like that's an excellent 2-pack of games right there to settle into tonight. I'm leaning Rangers money line as well. I do think the one thing that worries me about this is the trend that you mentioned, that the Panthers, and specifically Bobrovsky, I'm assuming he'll be in the net tonight. They do not allow less than 3 or more than 2 goals, rather. They just don't. They did the other night against Montreal. That's the only game out of the last 16 that they have allowed more than 2 goals. So that concerns me. I don't see this game being 2-1. I do see it being a 3-2 type game. I feel like both teams can get their licks in. Both teams can get a couple goals on the board. I do worry about that for the Rangers, though. Being able to get the puck past Bobrovsky. I do think, generally speaking, Shesterkin is the better goaltender, but I think in the context of the last few months, as good as Shesterkin has been, there's no denying what Bobrovsky's done over the last couple months. So that is the one thing that does concern me, but I do think you're right. Rangers at home, huge game. I think they get up for it. I think they do get the win. But this is going to be a great game. I don't think any of us would be surprised either way this goes. The only way that I would be surprised if it's a blowout one way or the other. I really do think it'll be close. If the Panthers win, won't be surprised. Rangers win, won't be surprised. The only way I will be is if it's a blowout. So, yeah. And I mean, Panthers 9-1 last 10. Rangers 8-1-1. Like both teams are coming into this game playing great hockey, so it's going to be a really, really fun matchup. Moving on, St. Louis in Philadelphia. St. Louis still lurking in the playoffs. I feel like that ship has sailed, but they're still hovering around. And like you said, the Kings, you still feel like the Kings might miss. I agree with you. I think time's getting a bit short. But St. Louis still hanging around that playoff picture. Philadelphia still hanging on to third in the Met. Philadelphia, minus 135 favorites at home. St. Louis, plus 114 on the road. The over is 6 at minus 102. The under is minus 118. Blues, plus 1.5 on the puck line is minus 205. Flyers, minus 1.5 on the puck line, plus 170. The Blues 4-5-1 in their last 10 games. Buchnevich 5 goals in his last 5 games. He is plus 200. Quickly on the prop side for Philadelphia. Now, Owen Tippett has 21 shots in his last 5 games. All right. 10 of those shots came against your New York Rangers last Saturday. 10. So really, it's 11 shots in the last 4 games. I do see him getting past that tonight. Over 3.5 is minus 130. If you want to push that number over 4. So what did I say? Over 3.5. This is an interesting one. Over 3.5 is minus 130. Now, to get more than 3.5, you have to get 4, right? Well, 4 plus shots is minus 120. So you can kind of beat DraftKings a little bit here and get the minus 120 for 4 plus. 5 plus is plus 170. He's been held to not a lot of shots over the last 4 games, and I do see him getting a bunch on the net tonight. So 5 plus shots, plus 170 for Owen Tippett. For the Flyers, listen, they're hanging on to that third spot in the Met, like I mentioned. 5-4-1 in their last 10 games. The Flyers have been, as I like to say, pretty Jekyll and Hyde over the last couple weeks. Them hanging on to this third spot, I feel like, is less about what they have done over the last few weeks and more about what the Devils, the Pens, what those teams have not done. I do think Philadelphia is the better team here. I do think that Philadelphia wins this game. I like them on the money line, minus 135. It's a little bit expensive. I don't love it. I mean, the puck line's plus 170. I can be pushed in that direction. I just don't really trust. I don't trust the Flyers right now. I don't trust the Blues more than I don't trust the Flyers. But I will pay the extra juice at minus 135. It's a little bit pricey, but I'll take it. Flyers, money line, minus 135. What say you?
Yeah, you said a lot of things that I wanted to touch on. The Flyers still having that third spot is about the fact that teams 4 through 7 in the Metro have absolutely no desire to climb in the standings whatsoever right now. I think they're just content with duking it out, and I don't even know what's going on. It's a mess down there. But I don't really trust this Blues team. I think I've said it a lot this season. I really do not trust them on the road. And they've lost 4 straight on the road, 3 of them by multiple goals. They did take the Oilers to OT. Kudos to them last Wednesday. But not a good team. Does not travel well. 13-5-2 in away games, 75 goals in 30 games played. That's fewer than 3 per game by a decent amount. 96 goals allowed in 30 games played. So just in every way, not traveling well except for their penalty kill. And I think that's really it for me. Not that their penalty kill is going to suck. This is the Flyers power play we're talking about here. But I don't see them scoring more than 2 goals in this game. And if you're asking the Flyers to only score 3 at home, I think they can handle that. Not that the Flyers offense is fantastic, but I think they can do enough to pull this one out. So like you, I'm content with the juice. I thought about the 60-minute line, but I'm content with just minus 135. I'll take that. I'll take the under in this one, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it is. We've talked about this a lot, especially the last week or two. It is insane, the special teams for Philly. Like, it's crazy. Like, not only how bad their power play is and how good their penalty killing is, but you actually think that they'll score you think that them scoring is more likely if they're shorthanded. It's crazy. It's the weirdest thing. But that's how their season has gone. And I do think I've been on record to say this. I think if they play Carolina, I think Philadelphia can win that series. I really do. They got to figure something out with that power play. The fact that the penalty kill is number 1 in the league does save them a little bit, but they got to figure something out on that power play, because it's not like they're not. It's not like their power play is super smooth and they're just not getting the puck in the net. Like, they can't even set up. Like, it's bad. So they got to figure something out heading into the playoffs. Because other than that, I think they can beat Carolina. I really do.
I think a series between Carolina and Philly would have more shorthanded goals than power play goals. And I genuinely believe that.
It feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Toronto home against Boston. One of my favorite games to watch, not because it's Boston, because listen, the Toronto-Boston history over the last decade has been god-awful for my side. But just aesthetically, it's just original 6 matchups are so nice to watch. The jerseys, it's just so nice. You got the dark blues for the Leafs. You got the white, gold, now gold and black, the Bruins' new uniforms that they have out this year. Just the original 6 matchups are always the most visually pleasing to watch. But I digress. Toronto, -130 at home. Boston, +110 on the road. The over is 6 at -122. The under is +102. Boston +1.5 on the puck line is -218. Toronto -1.5 on the puck line, +180. So this is the deal. I have said this on the show quite a few times that it took me 5 months, but I have finally bought into this Toronto Maple Leaf team. And I really like what I'm seeing. That game against the Rangers on Saturday, the Maple Leafs of the past, and I don't even mean of the past years. I mean like 3-4 months ago, 2 months ago. The Leafs, they're down 1-0, down 2. Was it down 2-0 or down 1? And then it was 1-1, and then the Rangers went back up 2-1. I can't remember now. But either way, yeah, I can't remember. But either way, they were behind twice in that game. The Maple Leafs of old don't win that game. Even tying, like getting the Rangers to tie it up late, the Leafs find a way to blow that game. They're just winning games that they don't normally win, and it has shifted. They've been playing not only great as far as the season goes, but great as far as the last few years. It's the best that I remember seeing them play in a while. I would normally be very hesitant to take the Leafs money line, to take the Leafs anything in this game. I would, especially against Boston. Boston has our number. That's just the way it's been. I would normally not even think twice about it and take Boston plus money. But that being said, I like to look at the recent trends, and the recent trends tell me that Boston is 3-2-5 in their last 7. You take away that stupid 1 point in overtime loss, they're 3-7 in their last 10 games. 11 straight games allowing 3+ goals. 11 straight allowing 3+ goals. 4+ goals in 3 straight. Toronto has scored 4+ goals in 11 of their last 13 games. The way that the defense and the goaltending has been for Boston over the last couple weeks is not how you want to go into Toronto right now. Like, Toronto is scoring at an unbelievable rate. They are first in goals per game now. They are second in power play. Now, Boston has a top 10 penalty kill, understood. But Toronto, they just score way too much to be going into Toronto, scoring 4+ goals in 3 straight and 3+ goals in 11 straight. It's not good for Boston to be coming in playing that way. And I don't see the Bruins outscoring Toronto here. For that reason, I'm taking Toronto on the money line. Again, more juice than I would like, but I'm taking it. And I'm also taking over. It's -125 now, just changed a little bit. I am taking the over just because I do think this game is close. I think it's a 4-3 game, maybe even a 5-4 game. I do think there's a lot of scoring in this one, but I do think Toronto ends up on top. One last quick point. I know I'm kind of rambling here, but one last quick point. Earlier in the year, these two teams played. Marchand had a dirty hit on Liljegren, and nothing happened. The Leafs didn't do anything, no retaliation, and that created a lot of noise here in Toronto. And over the last few weeks, that approach to the game has really changed for Toronto. There's been a lot more feistiness, a lot more grit, a lot more retaliation, a lot more attitude from the Leafs, which we don't see from them historically. And we didn't see when these two, it wasn't the last time these two teams played, but it was earlier in the year. I'm interested to see what happens tonight because Brad Marchand is, this guy, he remembers this stuff, man. He knows, and he's going to do something to get under your skin. And where's the retaliation from Toronto? Because normally, historically, we see them fold here. And so I'm curious to see what Marchand does, whether he licks Matthews across the forehead or whatever he does. I'm interested to see what it is, and I'm interested to see how Toronto responds. All right, what say you, man? How do you see this game going?
Yeah, a lot of history between these teams, huh? In the first 2 meetings did go to OT. We know the Bruins, they love to do that, especially lately. They're 3-2-5 in their last 10, not playing good hockey. Bad hockey, if we're going to be honest here. And there's 5 teams right now where you can kind of bet on them consistently, and there's no fault. It'll probably work out for you. That would be the Predators. That would be the Jets. That would be the Rangers. That would be the Panthers. And that would be your Toronto Maple Leafs. All teams playing outstanding hockey right now. And like you said, Boston's allowing a lot of goals lately. That's concerning, especially with this Leafs offense heading into town. Toronto scores more than anybody. Wow, that's the wrong year. Toronto scores more than anybody. Fantastic. They did just score 4 yesterday. And when the Bruins beat them earlier in this year, I guess 2023, if you will, it was because they were stopping pucks. They allowed 2 goals in the shootout loss and 3 goals in the OT loss, or maybe I have it flipped backwards. Don't really know. Don't really care. They're not getting those stops right now.
Yep.
The Leafs are on fire. And I like -130 because the Bruins do love to force overtime, but I would not be afraid to take the 60-minute line or the puck line for the Leafs. I feel very confident that they're going to win this game.
It was really interesting. I was texting with you over the weekend, and I was telling you that I was watching the Rangers broadcast on Saturday. I like to do that sometimes, just watch the opposing team's broadcast. I find it fascinating. And one thing that had me thinking, first of all, the Rangers broadcast is just phenomenal. I really, really appreciate the job that those guys do. It's really, really good, really fun to watch. And I feel like they are very informative about the other team. Maybe this is just coming from a Toronto guy. It's not that the Toronto broadcasts are homer, but they do talk about the Leafs a lot, whether it's the negatives or the positive. It's not always Homer, but it is like statistics and details about the Toronto Maple Leafs, where I thought that the Rangers broadcast does a great job of breaking down the opposing team to the viewers of the Rangers. I thought that was phenomenal. The one thing that had me thinking, because again, as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, you know, we got Matthews, we got Marner, we got Nylander. Tavares has taken a bit of a step back, but we still have Tavares. We have Riley on the back end. I was thinking about this watching on your broadcast is that power play unit with Nylander, Marner's, Matthews, which by the way are all plus money on power play points, and I would just take that every game. Pick one and run with it. If one gets it, they almost all get one. That Toronto power play unit, like that's a scary unit. And we don't really think about that a lot with Toronto because we always complain about the 6-line defenseman and the third string goaltender. But watching it from a Rangers perspective on that broadcast, it's like, yo, like this is a good team, man. And Toronto fans, we need to just cheer up and enjoy what we're watching here because this is a good team, man. And we're way too negative on this team, and we need to just appreciate what we're watching.
Yeah, very good team. And I would say do not watch Nesson tonight. It's gonna be thick accent, heavy Bruins. It's endearing every once in a while, but as someone who had to deal with it, I told you the other day, someone who had to deal with it for 4 years at UConn, I would not recommend Nesson on an everyday basis.
That's hilarious. I will say, though, the Toronto Maple Leaf radio broadcast, I don't know if I've talked about this on the show, but I've talked about it with you behind the scenes for sure. I listen to a lot of different radio broadcasts. Sirius XM is awesome for that. You can listen to every single broadcast in the NHL. I love it. The Toronto Maple Leafs, it's my favorite broadcast. I think the chemistry that those two guys have is incredible. I love the Maple Leafs broadcast. However, that is a Homer broadcast. If you want to listen to some Toronto Homerism, listen to the radio feed because that is 100% Homer for sure. All right, moving on to Colorado versus Chicago. Colorado beat the Blackhawks badly to finish off last week. They are back they're back home. Sorry, the Avalanche are facing the Blackhawks. Minus 455 at home. Plus 350 are the Blackhawks on the road. The over is 6 at minus 122. The under is plus 102. Plus 1.5 for the Blackhawks. Plus 145. Minus 1.5 for the Avalanche. Minus 175. Andre, what do you see in this game tonight?
Do I see a Blackhawks upset? No, not at all. This game, the minus 2.5. Oh, the minus 2.5 isn't the standard anymore. That's a shame because I'm going to take it already. And again, when it's available again, I guess they took it off. Minus 2.5 when I got it yesterday. Didn't put real money on it. It was one of my winners and minors picks. Minus 2.5 at plus 115. It's in Denver. Tough for anyone to go. The Avalanche have the best home record in the NHL this season. The Avalanche just beat this Blackhawks team 5-0. I don't know what else I really need to add here. Pretty obvious that Colorado's a way better team. They beat them 4-0 in October when Chicago came to Ball Arena. That's it. That's all I got. Minus 2.5. I'll be that guy.
Yeah, I love it. And we have seen this a lot throughout the year. I don't remember seeing it a lot recently. You look at these odds every single day and they all kind of blend together. But I remember seeing this a lot earlier on. But yeah, the minus 1.5 for Colorado, there's no value in it, right? Like you got to go to the minus 2.5, even beyond that for any type of value. for me, you're this is the best. This is the best. So -1.5. Let me just make sure I get this right. Yeah. So -1.5 is -175. You're getting better value for a Nathan McKinnon goal than you are for the Avalanche -1.5, but you're still not getting good value at that either because that's -140. How about Rantanen? Oh, that's -110. Like the Colorado props are always fascinating to me. But I mean, listen, it's like that for a reason. McKinnon, 4 goals, 9 points in his last 5 games. I have thrown this out on the show throughout the season, and I will continue to do so. But even that, McKinnon, over 1.5 points, -135. Like, this is why if you watch the show enough, when we do Colorado games, I don't hand out Colorado props because all my favorite ones, it's just really hard to find value. Now, Rantanen, over 1.5 points, +120. There's some value in that. We go over to the shots on goal. McKinnon, over 4.5 shots, -125. That's probably your best value pick right there. So I'm with you, man. We can pick the -2.5. The only thing I really have to say about this game, other than the props that I just kind of threw out there, is Colorado spanked the Blackhawks last week. And then they got spanked by the Predators on Saturday. So I think no matter who it is, the Blackhawks or the Rangers or the Leafs, like, I don't think it matters who it is. I'd pick the Avalanche to win tonight because I think that was a dud of a game against the Predators. And give all the credit to the Predators in the world. But that was a dud that the Avalanche laid on Saturday. So I expected them to come back and win this game regardless. And the fact that it's the Blackhawks is just, the Blackhawks are just, shoot me, man. Like, let's get this season over with. Let's get healthy and bounce back next year. But I'll take Colorado -2.5 too. Whatever McKinnon has, I'll just take it all. I'll take the juice and just pay it. Screw it. All right. Moving on to, and I know we're running a little bit over an hour, but I do kind of want to talk about this. Seattle is in Calgary. Seattle +110 on the road. Calgary is -130 at home. The over is 6 at +102. The under is -122. +1.5 for the Kraken is -225. Calgary -1.5 is +185. Kraken 5-4-1 their last 10. Flames 7-3 their last 10. 5 straight wins for them. 4+ goals for Calgary in 4 of their last 5 games. Now, what I kind of wanted to touch on, and in your preview for the game, feel free to touch on anything I have to say here. Calgary right now, they have 65 points. As we said earlier, Nashville, Los Angeles, both at 72 in those 2 wildcard spots. Can absolutely see the Flames. They're 7 points back. That's not nothing at this point in the season, but it's just so fascinating with me, this team. Like, the management and the general managers and all that, they're obviously way more advised than I am. They clearly know their team much better than I do. The reason why they're trading all these pieces, they traded Zadorov earlier in the year. A few weeks ago, they traded Lindholm. They just traded Tanev. All we're hearing is that Hanifin is next. Markstrom has just been advised that he's not being traded. And then he goes on to make some very interesting comments that you can go find on Saturday, talking about how disappointed he is in the approach by management and blah, blah, blah. This team keeps trading away core pieces and they keep on winning games. And it's super interesting to me. Like, you don't make the moves that Calgary has made if you're not clearly thinking about the future. but they keep trading away these key players and they keep winning games. And it's really interesting to me. Like, okay, you've done what you're going to do. Do you hold on to these pieces now and make a final push for the playoffs? The way that Calgary's playing, man, like I think of them not quite like Nashville status, but if you're giving me the Kings against a number 1 or number 2 seed or Calgary against the number 1, number 2 seed, I give Calgary a better chance than I take the Kings right now. I think that the hockey Calgary is playing, they just really, really good sound hockey. Markstrom has played very good this season, and this Calgary Flames team is just fascinating to me. They keep trading away their best players and they keep winning games. It's terrific, and I don't know what to make of it. I love Calgary on the money line tonight. I even like Calgary. I think the puck line's a bit aggressive just because a lot of these games that Calgary wins are either in overtime or at least by 1 goal. The 60-minute lines plus 110, as I've said, they like to go to overtime, so it's a bit risky, but I do like even though it's a bit juicy, I do like the money line at minus 130. So all that to say, I like Calgary tonight, but I'm just really very fascinating just seeing them trade all these players and they just keep winning. It's super interesting.
Yeah, I feel like they were just committed to it so early in the season. I don't know if you recall months and months ago, they were already shopping Zadorov and all those guys. They were just committed to it and they stuck with it, even though they started playing better, even though they got themselves back into the playoff hunt, even though now they're on a tear. And I mean, to their credit, it's not hindering their success. It might be actually sparking it at this point. Maybe there's some bad apples in their locker room. Who knows? But they're playing well. And for this game, I like them 60-minute line. They're just offensively 3+ goals in their last 5 games during this 5-game winning streak. 23 total. That's 4.6 per game. On the other end, they allowed 13 total goals, no more than 3 in a game. That's 2.6 per game. And that's really good. You look at the 3-game losing streak right before that, they only had 3 total goals, all against the Sharks, gave up 13 goals, really bad. The 3 games before that, they had 14 goals, gave up 6 total. For the most part, barring that weird 3-game stretch, they've been playing fantastic since the All-Star break, is my point. It started with that game in Boston, that open challenge, if you will. And I think it's going to continue tonight against the Kraken. Seattle, they're just too used to these low-scoring games. It's kind of where they succeed. And I can't see them slowing down this Flames team. Not again. They held them to 1 the last time they met. But the 2 games before that this season, Calgary scored 4, and then Calgary scored 6. Those were both in Seattle. The Flames this season have been, as most teams are, better at home. Seattle this season, as most teams are, worse on the road. So I think the Flames, hit 4 goals, 5 goals, whatever. I don't see the Kraken keeping up with that. I like the Calgary 60-minute line here.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, they become one of my favorite teams to watch, man. Like, I was a little bit bummed out at first on Saturday night. They were the only 10 o'clock start. It's one of my favorite things about hockey night in Canada is you typically have about 3 games on that Saturday night that all start 10 o'clock. So, and I was kind of bummed out that it was only the Flames. Then I was like, man, this team is actually like, they're really, really fun, man. And they're worth watching, especially at home. There's something about the Flames at home with the red just taking over the stadium, and it's fun to watch. So, yeah, great stuff by you. Moving on to our best bets, brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. What's your sport? hockey, football, basketball, baseball, maybe wrestling, maybe even boxing, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You can get it at firstroundcollectibles.com. Right now, with the promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. They still have sale items up to 50% off on their website. With this promo code, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but also on sale items as well. Do the math. If it's 20% off, you get it for 30, 30 for 40, 40 for 50, 50, 60. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com. That's the number 1, ST roundcollectibles.com, and find your heroes. Promo code Sports Addict for 10% off. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. Andre, what is your best bet of the night?
Yeah, my best bet. I'm going to avoid my team. I'm going to avoid your team. I'm going to avoid Philly. I'm obviously not going to pick against the Blackhawks as the best bet. And I'm going to avoid my secret lover in Alberta. I'm going to go back to the first game, Golden Knights versus the Blue Jackets. Like the over 6.5. Like we said, the Vegas defense, the Vegas goaltending, not stopping anything right now. Columbus allows the second most goals per game. Regardless of who comes out on top, one of these teams is going to score at least 5 goals, you would think, if not both. If you're at 5 with one team, you got to think the other team is going to get at least 2. So I'm giving the over 6.5 at plus 100. Like the value. Think it's a lock.
Yeah, I love that bet. Plus money. Absolutely love it. And we've seen this all year from the Blue Jackets, man. They just play up against good teams. It's remarkable. So to follow your thinking, I'm going to stay away from my team. I'm staying away from your team, but I'll stop it there because I'm not going to stay away from Philly. I like the Flyers. I know it's a bit, all right. I was going to take the money line, but I'm just going to take the 60-minute line. I do think they win this game in 60. I do think that they win this. Like, to me, in my head, I'm thinking 5-2. Like, I do think that they win this game big tonight. I like the puck line, but I'm going to play it a little bit safer than that and just take the 60-minute line at plus 105. The more I look at it, the more I like a lot of plays in this game. The more I like the over, which is also plus money. The more I like the puck line. But I'll just stick with the 60-minute line. Flyers plus 105. I like that bet tonight.
Yeah, and John's best bet, I know he's not here. It's going to be Avalanche minus 2.5 when that's available again. So,
oh, yeah, he would do that. Yeah, he would do that 100%.
But just for me and you, Mark, the over 6.5 in Columbus is plus 100. The Flyers 60-minute line is plus 105. Combined, that is a plus 310 two-leg parlay. Pretty good odds.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Yeah, absolutely. Start this week off right. Nice and safe. I think that's a pretty safe best bets group there. Not too risky. I'm kind of, now that I think about it, I really do like the over in that Blues Philly game too, but I made my decision. Can't confuse myself. Listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining us as always, whether on Total Apex, whether on Sports Addict Live, doesn't matter. We appreciate you, whether it's live or later in the day. We appreciate you. Follow both of our socials, like, subscribe, go to firstroundcollectibles.com, the whole deal. We will see you tomorrow morning. See you then.